Hello, hello. I see people are logging on. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Arlie, welcome, Arlie. I think I know who that is. We have more people coming on. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. What's going on? It's just going to be just a few minutes. We'll get started in a few minutes. I want to give everyone an opportunity to log in. We don't want to start without everybody here. So give us a few more minutes and we will get started. In the meantime, though, how about everybody comment below or comment in the chat section and let me know where you're from, what part of the world you're viewing from, and how long you've been playing the piano or how long you've been playing an instrument. Let's do that. In the meantime, kind of while we're waiting for everybody. Welcome, welcome. I see more people are coming in. Welcome, everybody. We are going to get started in the next few minutes. Let me see where everybody is from. Please comment below. Okay. We have Toronto, Arlie, all the way from Toronto. Good old Canada. I just moved from Canada a couple months ago. Was living outside of Toronto. We have Siobhan Reynolds. She's been playing keys since 1997. Toomsboro. Okay, I've never heard of Toomsboro. Actually, I'm in Georgia. Just moved to Atlanta, like I said, at the beginning of this month. But welcome, welcome. What else? Where's everybody else from? We have a few more people in the room, so just comment below. Let me know what part of the world you're viewing from. And like I said, we're gonna give it a few more minutes and then get started. Okay, let's see who else we have here. Anybody else? If you just came in the room, welcome to you all. We're going to get started in the next few minutes. Just comment in the chat section and let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're from and how long you've been playing the piano, all right? And I'm going to just keep playing a little bit until everybody gets into the room, and then we'll get started in the next few minutes. Okay, I think we have everybody. So it's 2:33, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, welcome to everyone who's here. I want to thank you all for coming out today on this teaching on advanced gospel passing chords. We have a lot of information for you today. And this teaching is probably going to be about an hour to an hour and a half. So I just suggest everybody, please kind of put your phone down, put your phones down, pull out a notepad, maybe a pen if you want to take some notes, and kind of get geared in your seats. We're going to get started here. If you don't know, I am Elijah Muse, and I'm the founder and the head instructor here at Gifted Hands Music. I've been playing piano for a little over 20 years now. And and I've started this company. I started Gifted Hands to help the folks who kind of went through similar issues to mine, which is just struggling to figure out certain songs, struggling to find their sound, struggling on how to advance in their playing and reach their goals that they want to reach, you know. because I think it's easy to dream, it's easy to have goals, but it's very hard unless you have guidance or someone kind of to help you reach your dreams and your goals. So that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you all out. And today I'm going to help by doing this in-depth training on gospel passing chords. Okay. So before we get too deep into it, I just want to explain what passing chords are for anyone out there who may be kind of unclear on what passing chords are. And actually, before I do that, I just want to make sure, can everybody hear my voice clearly? If you can hear me clearly, just leave a 1 in the chat box. If you can hear my voice clearly, if you can see me, and then as well, if you can hear the piano clearly, let me know. Okay, great. Sounds like everybody's good. So yeah, let's get into it. So passing chords. So passing chords are, it's a tool that we use as musicians kind of to take us from point A to point B without going directly there, right? So if we're looking at, let's say, 2 chords as a road trip, we have point A and point B, right? Let's say point A is this F chord that I'm playing, and point B is the D chord. So a passing chord is essentially going to make my transition from point A to point B a little bit more smooth, and it's going to just help the motion, or it's going to help take me there, right? So if I'm at F major and my journey is taking me to D minor, right? A passing chord could be those are passing chords that kind of took me in between the F and the D, okay? So like I said, a passing chord is just kind of a detour that you take from going from point A to point B, all right? And for those, I still see people kind of coming into the room, so I just want to welcome all of the newcomers. So now that we know what a passing chord is specifically, before we get into like advanced passing chords, that's going to be a little bit later on. I want to go over some of the most common types of passing chords. Okay, so some of the most common passing chords that you will hear in gospel. And so for today, I'm going to use a couple of different songs as an example. If you have any questions as I'm going through things, please don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm here to answer your questions. We're also going to do a Q&A at the very end. So whatever questions I can answer in the moment, or that might be related to something that I'm talking about, I'll answer then and there. If a question needs a little bit more time or is a little bit more in depth, then I'll wait to the very end to answer. But if you hear something, see something that I play or something that I say, and you want clarification on it, please definitely just let me know, and I will try to address all questions that I can, okay? So yeah, so some of the most common passing chords that we have, right? So to start off, I was in the key of F major, okay? So the key of F major has a scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is the scale and the key of F, okay? 1 flat, which is B flat. So I'm gonna use a song from this key of F, and then I'm gonna show you how you can use some very common, like the 3 most common passing chords I think that there are in gospel, okay? So for the song, I'm going to use How Great Is Our God, a very common song, excuse me. And the chord progression goes like this. How great is our God, won't you sing with me, how great is our God? And all will sing how great is our God. Okay, so that's the whole song. So essentially it goes to the 1, how great is our God? Sing with me, how, to the 6, which is a D minor, how great is our God? And all will sing how, 4, which is a B flat major chord, how great? And then to the 5, how great is our God? Okay? So the simplest and I think most common passing chord that you will hear in gospel music is just going to be simply walking either up and down diatonically in the key that you're in. So when I say that, all I mean is that in the key of F major, we have 7 different notes, right, that are in the scale of F major. So when you're walking up or down the scale, you're using the notes that are already in the scale, and you're taking the chords from those specific notes and just using those as kind of passing chords to get you from place to place, right? So let's take this, How Great Is Our God. How great is our God. Won't you sing with me? How great is our God. I will sing. How great is our God. Right? So all of those weren't complex. Those were very simple. Technically, they were passing chords, but they were all diatonic, meaning that they all belonged to the key of F major. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing that we're going to discuss very shortly, because I know this is more of a very simple technique. But first, in order to know passing chords, you have to know the chord progression or your target chord that you're trying to go to, right? So it's very crucial before you start throwing in a bunch of passing chords to any song, that you know the song form, you know the chords, you know the layout of the song, so that you know and that you can understand better how the passing chords work with the song, right? So here's our song, How Great Is Our God, 1, and then it goes to the 6, right? So simplest of chords, all I'm doing is walk from the 1 to the 7, but instead of the 7 being this half diminished, actually that belongs to the key of F, what I'm doing is I'm putting my 5 chord over my 7 chord, right? Nice and simple, to the 6 chord. And then from the 6, I'm going to the 4, right? I will sing how great. So instead of going from 6 to the 4, I'll throw in a passing chord. Oh, we'll sing, which is just the 5 chord, right? Oh, we'll sing how great. This is the 4 chord. And then how great, the 5 chord, right? Is our God. And then it ends on the 1. So instead of maybe going from the 5 to the 1, I'll throw in some passing chords. So I'll do how great is our God, which is just a walk up. So those are two chords that you can throw in that are all diatonic or that belong to the key of F. And all that is my B flat chord over my D. So that's the 4 chord over the 6. And then this is the 5 chord over the 7 to the 1. Okay, so one more time all together. Okay, so that is probably one of the most common passing techniques and kind of passing chords that you will hear. One second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that is one of the most common passing chords and techniques that you will probably hear, is just using the scale, using whatever key that you're in, using the scale of that key and taking chords from that scale and, like I said, walking up or down from the chord that you're trying to go to, okay? So that's very common in gospel. Now, the second passing chord that you will hear that is so common in gospel is using a 2-5-1 or just a 2-5 as a passing chord. So I'll get into what that means in a minute. Let me just play through it first. All right, so same song, I'm in the same, using the same song, and I will be playing in the same key, okay? So we're still in F major, using How Great Is Our God. Is our God, and all will sing how great is our God. So those were 2-5-1s. I threw in a bunch of 2-5-1s, right? One more time. How great that was me using a bunch of 2/5s or 2/5 to I was using those as passing chords to take me to whatever chord I was trying to go to take me to my target chord, right? So let's get into this next. This is, and I think this and one of the other techniques I'm going to show you next are two very foundational things, because no matter what skill level you're at, if you can take this 2/5-1 progression and the next technique that I'm going to show you, if you can use both of those, you can use them, like I said, if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate or advanced. It's just about how you use them. But all skill levels, whether you're, like I said, from beginner, who just may have started a couple months ago, to advanced players who have been playing for 30 years, who play for professional musicians or whatever it may be, all musicians use this technique, okay? So, how great is our God? Our God. So that was the first one I did, right? So essentially the first one, the chord progression that I would normally play is the 1, F major, how great is our God, and all will sing how great. So I'm trying to go to the 6, right? The 6 is my target chord. So whatever chords that I play as passing chords, I want them to bring me to my D minor chord, right? Which is the 6th chord. So the way that I look at this is, all right, so if D minor is my target chord, I'm gonna look at this as my like temporary home or my temporary 1 chord. Even though it's the 6th chord of D minor, or it's the 6th chord of F major, I'm gonna kind of look at it as just a temporary 1, okay? And then, so with this, I'm gonna build a 2/5 progression around this to bring me to my D minor chord, or bring me to my target chord, okay? So I'm in F, right? So God, won't you sing with me how great? So that was, won't you sing with me how great? Okay, so that is a 2/5-1 that took me to D minor. And there's many different ways that you could play this. I could play it like, right? Or I could do, okay, so there's a bunch of different ways, but this is the way I chose to play. Okay, so now that, like I said, is a 2/5-1 to bring me to the 6th chord. So E minor is the 2 of D, right? So since I'm making a 2/5-1, what I have to do is look at the D as my home and build a 2/5-1 surrounding that. So 2/5 just meaning that I take D and I count up the D scale, and each scale degree will get a number associated with it, right? So from D to E, that is the 2. E is the 2 of D. 5, or A, is the 5 of D. So with 2/5-1 progressions, the 2 of a major 2/5-1 is minor. So I put a minor chord for the 2. My 5 chord is dominant, and then that brings me to my target chord, okay? So 2/5 to the D minor. And this can also be looked at, if we're looking in the key of F major, this is also known as 7, 3, 6, okay? But in the context of today, I'm just gonna be looking at all of these as 2/5-1s, okay? So how great, let me play it through it one time, is our God. How great is our God. All will sing how great. So all will sing how great. So that's another 2/5-1 right there. Right? So what I did was I was coming from the D minor, and my target chord now is to the B flat. That's what chord I want to go to next. How great is our God, right? So the B flat is my target chord. So all I'm doing is building a 2/5-1 around the B flat, right? So what do? To do this, you take the B flat, you act like temporarily your B flat is your home or your 1 chord. I find the 2 of B flat, so I count up the B flat scale. 1, 2. My C is my 2, and and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My F is my 5 chord. So I put those together and I create a 2-5 progression. So the C, the 2 is minor, and my 5 is dominant, okay? And you can play this many different ways. I played it rootless, but any way you play it will work. And like I said, it helps create tension to get you from chord to chord. Okay, so that is the 2-5 progression. Okay, somebody said Cordy is delaying a little bit. Okay, yeah. Let me see if I can do something. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just play a little bit slower as well, so you can all catch what I'm playing. But yeah, so that is a 2-5-1. Do we have any questions about that specific chord progression or how that's applied to a song or to a chord? Because what I'm going to do is I will show you one more way that you can use the 2-5 progression as a passing chord. No? Okay, very good. So in that song, we were going from the 1 to the 6 to the 4, right? But let's just say a song goes from 6. Oh yeah, so let's say a song goes from B flat to the 3. So this is the progression. 4, 3, 2. To give you more examples of how you can use this 2-5-1. Okay, so 4, 3 to the 2. Okay, so if my regular chord progression is 4 to the 3, instead of going from this B flat major to the 3 chord, which I'm playing as a F over A, this is what I'm playing as the 3 chord. Instead of just going straight from here to here, what I can do is I can play B flat, right? And then I can build a 2-5-1, bringing me to the 3 chord, okay? So what that would look like is, let me play that one more time. Okay. So that's the movement right there. And so essentially what's happening is, like the other chords that we looked at, this is my target chord, right? So this F over the A is my target chord that I want to go to, which is the 3 chord of F major, right? But what I'm doing is I'm looking at it as my 1. So what I want to do is build a 2-5-1 based off of A, based off of the target chord. So I look at A, I know the 2 of A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is the 2 of A is B, the 5 of A is E. And then that resolves to the 1, okay? So 2, 5, 1. So, and then I would throw that in the progression. Now in this instance, what I'm doing is I'm using it as a minor 2-5-1. So there's a difference. You have major 2-5-1s, and then you have minor 2-5-1s, right? So like we discussed before, major 2-5-1 is a, let's say, I'm gonna go back to F. So major 2-5-1 is a minor chord to a dominant chord to a major chord, okay? 2, 5, 1. Minor, dominant to major. So what a minor 2-5-1 would be is, usually if you're going to a minor chord, right? But what you can do is the 2, instead of being minor, is half diminished to a dominant chord, but it's usually altered to a minor chord, right? So 2, half diminished, altered to a minor chord, Okay, one more time. Half diminished, altered, minor. All right. So let's see here if we have any more questions. Oh, okay, good. So continuing on. So now let's go back to the progression we had made up. We're at B flat, right? And then we're kind of going to the 3, right? So from the 4 to the 3. So what I'm doing is building a 2-5-1 surrounding that chord progression. That will take me to the 3 chord. So I have the 4 chord. Right? And so the 2-5-1 taking me, or the 2-5 taking me to A major is B minor, 7 flat 5, or B half diminished. This is the 2 of A. E7 sharp 9, so E dominant. This is the 5 of A. And then this is my 1 chord. Okay, so that would be a minor 2-5-1. And then you can go on with your chord progression. So one more time. Okay, so that would kind of be how you can use a 2-5-1 to take you to the 3 chord, and that's in that instance, the 3 chord. Okay, and so this just goes to show that a 2-5-1 has so many uses, and you don't always have to like use it in the sense of if you're in A major, you have to use it as, or sorry, if you're in F major, you have to use it in the key of F major 2-5-1, right? You can use it in other contexts as well, as like if you're trying to go to the 4, or if you're trying to go to the 3. Any chord that you want to go to, you can build a 2-5-1 surrounding it, okay? And so I actually came up with an exercise that I use in my own playing that kind of helps me to get comfortable with this 2-5-1 progression, because like I said, it's all over. And so what I came up with was pretty much a progression that goes around the circle of fifths. So I'm going to stay in F major for now, right? So essentially the progression is this. So all I'm doing with that progression is I'm in F major, right? So I just start on the 2 and I'm going around the circle of fifths, or I'm hitting every note in F major by bouncing around in fifths. So 2, 5, 1, right? And then I do 7, 3, 6, which is also kind of a 2-5-1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, right? So I do that in every key, like I said, just going around the circle of fifths. So that would be 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, just going around and around and around in cycles until I get comfortable. And I do that in every key, right? And what that does, like I said, is pretty much you start building 2 5s to take you from chord to chord, note to note, and eventually you know how to play like all of the 2 5s to get you to each chord in a key. So let me play it in like F sharp just to kind of show you one more example. Okay, so that is kind of one of the techniques or one of the practice routines that I might go through to help me master and get down that 2-5-1 progression. So that's kind of everything I have for the 2-5 for you today. Any questions about that specifically? Any clarification needed on that? All right, great. We're going to go to the next point. So the next passing chord that is very common, very essential to gospel music is going to be secondary dominance, right? And this secondary dominant works right along with your 2-5-1. So a secondary dominant literally is just a dominant chord that wants to resolve a fifth away. So very simple. So if I'm in C, right, and I want to go to C or find the secondary dominant of C, all I have to do is count a fifth away from C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's G, right? I make G a dominant chord, any type of dominant chord. And the rule of secondary dominance tells me that this G7 or this dominant chord wants to resolve to C major 7, right? So you can use this in many instances as well. So let's go back to How Great Is Our God, right? And we were in the key of F major. So you can use secondary dominance as well as passing chords and use these to get to an advanced level of passing chords just because it's very versatile, very flexible, and you can use it in so many different contexts, right? So, how great is our God? Let me go back to this song again. We have how great is our God. Won't you sing with me? How great. So that's a secondary dominant. Is our God. How is that a secondary dominant? Because I'm in F major, right? And I want to go to the D minor. That's my target chord, right? So the rule of secondary dominance tells me that I just count a fifth away from D minor or from D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I count a fifth away from D, right? So A is a fifth away from D. And so all I did was make the A dominant, okay? And so this A7 chord can be used as a secondary dominant, which is a passing chord, to take me to the D minor. So let me use it one more time, a little bit simpler. Great is our God. Won't you sing with me? How great. So that's a secondary dominant, right? Is our God. And all will sing how great. So that's another secondary dominant. So this time I was going from the D to the B flat major, right? So B flat major is my target chord. So what I wanted to do was just count the rule of secondary, using the rule of secondary dominance. I count a fifth away from B flat major. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So F is a fifth away from B flat, right? So if F is a fifth away from B flat, I make a F dominant chord or F7 chord, and that will take me a fifth away to B flat, my target chord, right? So one more time. Great is our God. Won't you sing with me? How great is our God. And all will sing how great, how great. Whoops. Okay, so, right, that F7 takes you to the B flat major, okay? And it's using the technique or the use of secondary dominance. So any questions about what secondary dominants are so far? If not, can everybody give me a 1 in the chat box just to let me know you're still following along with me and everything's making sense? If you all get, thank you so much. All right, great. So I'm gonna keep going then. If there's no questions about that. So let's see where else we can add secondary dominance in this chord progression, right? So we have how great is our God. Sing with me. How great is our God. And all will sing. How great. How. So this is a secondary dominant. How great. So yeah, so this chord would be a secondary, or this chord would be a secondary dominant, taking me to the C chord that I want to go to, the 5 chord. Right, so if my 5 chord is my target tone, how did I find this? G7, how did I find that chord? I found it by looking at my target chord that I wanted to go to, C, counting a fifth away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A fifth away from C is this G right here. So I counted a fifth away, and I made the G a dominant chord, right? And then it brought me to the C7 chord. It is our God. Okay. So one more time. Great. Great. So that was a bunch of 2-5-1s, or a secondary dominant stacked on each other. All will sing, how great, how great. So there's a secondary dominant. Is our God. Okay. So that is secondary dominance. And the great thing with secondary dominance is that, so after you get the basic concept, which is that if I want to go to a chord, D minor for instance, I just take the note that's a fifth away from it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I make it dominant, right? But that's not as far as you can go with it. So you can take this dominant chord, and the way to make this an advanced concept is by taking the dominant chord and adding extensions or alterations to it, right? And so when you add extensions and alterations to it, it gives you a more complex and more advanced sound. So what you do is you practice the concept in the simplest form first, right? So that would be simple. How great is our God? Won't you sing with me? How great. So 1, secondary dominant, taking me to D. That would be a simpler way to put it. Now, if I wanted to spice it up, I could do how great is our God. So that would be a way to spice it up. Okay. And so all I did there, I was still playing an A7 or an A dominant chord. But what I did now was I extended the chord. So I added a flat 9 to the A7. I added a 13. This F sharp is 13, and I made it extended, or I made it altered, right? And so all this does is, like I said, gives me a more advanced, a more complex sound. And essentially what I'm doing is that is adding tension, and tension builds up like this energy and this feeling of wanting to resolve, right? So because I have all of this tension by adding these extensions and these alterations, it makes me want to resolve down to the D minor. And when I do resolve, there's so much more of a contrast than this. Right, there's more of a contrast. So using alterations and extensions and color tones all allow you to take basic concepts, a simple concept such as a secondary dominant, right? You're able to take that concept and you're able to put your own twist on it, put your own flavor into it, and make it, turn it from simple into an advanced passing chord concept or advanced passing chords, okay? So that is secondary dominance. Let's see, any questions so far? Siobhan said, do that one more time. I'm guessing you're talking about the passing chord that I just played. All right, so that was F major, right? How great is our God? Won't you sing with me? How great. So just to explain kind of what I did there, if you want to play that, I'm going from F major, and then altogether I'm landing on this chord, right? So all I'm playing is an A and a G in my left hand, the 1 and the root note in my flat 7, and then my right hand is playing an F sharp triad, right? So all I did was I walked up to the F sharp triad. So I started at E major, played the E major triad, went to F, and then walked up to the F sharp, okay? So that's what I did. Like I said, that's a secondary dominant that brought me to D minor. Okay. Any other questions about anything I've played or anything I've said so far? Everybody good? If so, moving on to the next thing. Okay, great. Let's move forward. So we have moving up and down. We have three. Well, we've talked about three different passing chords or techniques, right? We've talked about moving up and down the scale diatonically. So, right, using those chords that are natural to the key that we're playing in as passing chords. We talked about that. We've talked about 2-5-1s. Right. So we talked about using 2-5-1s as well as passing chords. So that's another technique. And then we just finished talking about secondary dominants. Okay. So those are the three that we've covered so far. Definitely write those down. Pick whichever one that you like up until this point and figure out a way to practice it. Okay. So the next passing chord that we're going to discuss is going to be diminished passing chords. So diminished passing chords are pretty common as well. And I'm sure you have all heard them in a song or played them yourself. So let me just play a diminished chord. This is a diminished chord, right? So this is C diminished 7. And a diminished chord is very simple. All you do is you take whatever note you want to start with. So let's say I'm playing C diminished 7. So all you have to do is take your root note and you build in minor thirds. So if a minor third is just 3, it's 3 half steps. So 1, 2, 3. This is a minor third. 1, 2, 3. This is a minor third. And then 1, 2, 3. F sharp to A is a minor third. So C to E flat is a minor third. E flat to G flat is a minor third. G flat to A is also a minor third, okay? So building in minor thirds, all minor thirds only, that gives me a diminished chord, right? And so diminished chords are usually used as passing tones when you want to go to like a chord that's a half step away. So say I want to go from F to G minor. So the 1 to the 2. What I would do is throw in a passing chord, a diminished passing chord, to take me from my F to my G. Okay, so like I said, diminished chords are usually used as passing chords if you're going up or down a scale, however, and you want to hit a chord. You can use a diminished chord to take you to whatever chord you want to go to. Like I said, so if you're playing G minor, you can take the note that's below, a half step below G minor, which is F sharp, make it a diminished chord to help you go into the next chord, which is G minor. So let's say from G minor, I want to go to A. I would take the note a half step below A flat, and I make it diminished, right? So. Okay, so that's to the 3, 4. B diminished 7 takes me to the 5. And C sharp diminished. C sharp diminished takes me to the D minor scale, okay? And so a way that you can make this advanced, because right there it's pretty simple, it's pretty basic, doing that, right? But what I like to do to make this an advanced concept is, let's say I'm going to the 6. So what I'll do, I'll take a diminished progression. I'll make a whole chord progression out of diminished chords, right? And I'll combine them together to make, to help me transfer or move to whatever chord I'm trying to go to. So in this case, the D minor. So let's say I'm going into D minor, right? What I can do is So that's two chords, two diminished chords that I put together, D diminished and D flat or C sharp diminished. That takes me to the target chord, D minor. So that's it, okay? That's that chord progression. And so, like I said, all I'm doing is taking the same concept that we use, right? So the diminished chord concept that I just said was that I can take, if I'm going to D minor, I can take the note that's a half step below D, which is C sharp, right? And I can use that to take me into D. So I did that, but what I did was I took the diminished chord, I took a D diminished chord and used that to walk me into the C sharp diminished chord. And then that brought me into D minor. And then what I've also done is using drop two voicings, right? So essentially what the point that I'm getting at is that what you can start doing is after you master these concepts, right? You can start taking the individual concepts that maybe you've practiced separately and you can start combining them, right? And combining them with other techniques as well that you might know. So like I said, in this chord progression, what I did was I'm using drop two voicings, which is something that I've discussed in other lessons on YouTube and in my community. And I'm making the chord progression drop two just to give it a different sound and a different flavor and to kind of make it sound more, it sounds different, you know? You're not able to exactly tell what chords they are, okay? So one thing you can also do to make advanced passing chords is combining concepts. All the concepts we've talked about so far, you can combine those concepts and use those together to make advanced passing chords, okay? So does anybody have questions about the diminished chord, about diminished chords, how you can use them, what context you use them in? Like I said, whatever diminished chord you want to use, you look at your target tone first. You go a half step below your target tone. You make the note a half step below a diminished chord, and that brings you into your target chord, okay? Any questions about that? Is there a diminished walk-up, Siobhan? Yeah, there is a diminished walk-up. So a lot of people play diminished walk-ups. That's not. I think you mean that. I think that's pretty common as well. Yeah, people do use that, and that is a diminished walk-up right there. So actually, I can explain that. Let me break that down. So what you'll hear in a lot of gospel songs, and I feel like this happens in more traditional gospel, is that, how am I doing on time? It's 3:18. Okay, so we're good. So what you have is whatever chord progression you're in. So let's see, I'm gonna be in F major still. I'm trying to think of a song. I can't really think of a song right now that this would fit in, but essentially the walk-up is built off of diminished chords, right? So let's say I want to go to my sixth chord again, right? So what I can do is build a bunch of diminished chords. And in this instance, I'm using an E diminished, right? But I can put that over an A. So me putting this E diminished 7 chord over an A chord gives me an A7 flat 9, right? So this is a diminished, this is diminished, B diminished, this is diminished, and then that takes me to my 6th chord. And then what you can also do is you you can do both of those, right? So, like I said, all you're doing is stacking diminished chords on top of each other, kind of like I did in the other chord progression. So from right here, I started on the A, right? So I went from the A, and the A, I put A in my left hand, and I have let's say a G diminished chord in my right hand. And then I walk up a whole step to a B diminished, right? B in the bass, and it's a B diminished 7, to a C sharp diminished, another whole step up, and that takes me to my D minor chord, okay? And then you can keep going. So once again, I have D in the bass, and then I have my C chord, or I have C diminished. Then I go up a whole step, then up another whole step to F sharp, and then that gives me that diminished walk up. All right, and that's kind of that walk up that you hear, and like I said, a lot of traditional gospel tunes. And so one thing that I do want to tell you is, like, all of these are techniques that you can use. They're all gospel passing chords. You can use them in other genres as well. If you play pop music, if you play funk, blues, what else? Jazz. If you play jazz music, you can use these techniques and these chords in every genre. But I think the one thing you have to practice is taste. So like a lot of the chords that I use today, I wouldn't even use when I'm playing. I'm just using them as examples. So like when I was playing How Great Is Our God earlier, how great is our God? How great is our God? I can do this. How great is our God? Now, I could throw a bunch of chords in there, right? But that's not necessarily tasteful. So I think one thing that you also have to practice is figuring out chords that work with the genre of music you're playing in. Because in all honesty, in like some churches, if you're playing gospel music, right, and you're playing in church, some churches, depending on what the denomination is, depending upon kind of what your demographics look like, they might not like you playing this. Like, that might be a bit much. You might only need to do something more simple, right? And then you can throw in something funky every now and then. So one thing with this, when you do start practicing, don't try to overload a song with passing chords. Just take the song, right? And then just make sure that whatever way you find to throw in a passing chord, make sure it's tasteful and that it's in rhythm, and, you know, that it fits, I guess, the environment that you're playing. Because you don't want to use this stuff to show off, per se, right? It should be adding to whatever song, whatever music that you're playing. You want the passing chords to add to it, right? And so, like I said, passing chords, all they do is provide a little bit of tension in a chord progression, and they create this unease in the listener's ear, right? And when you hear that, it helps you, that when you hear that, you want to, like, you know, that's not the end of the song. If somebody plays this, I'm like, man, this has to go somewhere, right? And then it does go somewhere. If I play this doesn't sound right by itself. Like if I sit down at the piano and I just play this chord right here, people are gonna be looking at me like, you don't know how to play. Like, what's wrong with you? But when I play that, partnered with this, the tension and the resolution, the contrast is beautiful, right? The contrast, them combined together, like the two conflicting chords coming together, is what makes it enjoyable. So now we have the walking up and down the scale, right? We went over 2 5-1s. We went over secondary dominant chords, and we've gone over diminished chords, okay? So does anybody have any questions so far about anything that I've discussed here? Because now we're going to get into the best part. I'm going to show you how you can take all of these different concepts and you can really make them advanced and you can make them your own. So you can use them in whatever song to really give your own playing a flavor. And people use passing chords a lot when you have a very simple chord progression and you want to take a simple chord progression and make it sound more full. That's when you can use passing chords to your advantage to really give a song more fullness and more beauty, right? So I'm gonna get right into that if there's no questions, okay? So we've talked about these main concepts, and what I want to do is actually show you a couple other advanced concepts that you may not have heard about before. So let's change keys. Let's go somewhere else. E flat. Okay, so we're in E flat major, right? And let's see, what I'm gonna do is, let's take a simple song. Actually, I'm not even gonna take a song. I'm gonna just use a chord progression, okay? Because I have a couple more techniques that I wanna tell you all about. So if I'm in E flat major, and let's say I wanna go from the 2, or let's actually say I wanna go from the 3. So the 3 in E flat major is G minor, right? And I wanna go to the 2. Right? This is the chord progression. Simplest song in the world. Okay, so that's the chord progression, G minor to F minor. One technique that you can use is called side slipping. So it's something I've discussed in videos previously on my YouTube channel, but side slipping is a technique that you might hear. And all of that is if you're going from a G minor to an F minor, those two chords are both minor, right? So they share the same chord quality, meaning that they are both minor. I can do this. So that's what side slipping is. And so side slipping just means that if I'm going from two chords of similar qualities, right? I can just take a chord that's a chromatic step away from my target tone, right? So that would be F. F is my target tone, F minor. So I can take this F sharp, or I can take the E. They're both a half step away. And I can slide into it with another minor chord. Right? So I'm gonna jump back actually into How Great Is Our God. How great is our God. Won't you sing with me? How great is our God. And all will sing, how great is our God. Okay, so that was side slipping. Great is our God. All will sing, how great. All will sing, how great. That's side slipping, okay? And so like I said, all I did was take my target chord, in this case, F minor, and I took notes that were a half step above it, right? And actually, I started from a whole step, actually. So I know F is minor, so all I did was go from G, and I slid down from the G into F, okay? So you can do that other places as well. Like, whoops. How great is our God? Sing with me. How great is our God? All will sing. How great. Oh, actually, no. Let me do it one more time. How great is our God? Won't you sing with me? How great is our God? So there's another place I did it. That's side slipping as well. So this is now, I'm talking about combining techniques, right? Because I have two techniques here. I have the side slipping technique, and I have my 2-5-1 technique, okay? So I'm on the 1, then I go to the 6, and then my next chord is the 4 chord that I'm trying to go to, right? So I'm on the 6. So what did I do? I use a side slipping technique. I slid from the 6 to the 5, right? And then from here, I'm doing a 2-5 to take me to the 4 chord, okay? So now I'm combining techniques, and when you start combining techniques and doing things like that, like I said, it gives you more of an advanced sound. So let me play that all together. All right, great. Okay, so that was it. So that is side slipping. Like I said, you can take whatever chord that you want to go to. I can even do it with a major chord. So how great is our God. I did it there too. That's technically side slipping. And so all this is you take whatever chord you want to go to, whether it's major or minor, right? And you step into, or you kind of slide into that chord from a half step above, a half step below, or you can even go from a whole step above or a whole step below, okay? So that is a concept of side slipping. Another advanced gospel passing technique right there. And then, okay, so that's one advanced gospel technique that you can use. Another advanced technique that you'll hear as well is built off of the 2-5 chord progression, right? So, so let's use a different song. Yeah, okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a Marvin Sapp song. It's called "The Best in Me," I believe. Yeah, he saw the best in me. So Marvin Sapp, right? And the song goes, I'm gonna simplify this down to its easiest form, right? He saw the best in me when everyone else around could only see the worst in me. He saw the best in me. Now I know that's not how the song goes, that's not how they play it. But essentially, if you wanted to get by playing the fewest chords, the fewest amount of chords, you can play the song like this, right? The 4 chord, he saw the best in me. When everyone, the 6 chord, to the 6 chord, and everyone else around, to the 1 chord, could only see the worst in me. And then he throws all that fancy stuff in, right? So this chord progression is very simple at its base, right? He saw the best in me, everyone else around. So I'm going just from the 4 of E major, which is A flat, or of E flat major, which is A flat. So I'm going from the 4 to the 6, right? So a way that I can do that is I can use secondary dominants, right? So all I did was, okay. Sorry for the interruption. All right, yeah. So what I can do is take the 4 chord and I'm going to the 6, right? So I can throw in a secondary dominant to take me to the 6. And how do we find a secondary dominant? We went from our C minor, count a 5th away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5th away is G. And I made it altered. So now I'm taking this simple technique, or the simple chord, the G7, and I'm making it a little bit more advanced by adding alterations, right? So we were right here, he saw the best in me. Now it's from that, and it turns into he saw the best in me. All right, so you can use secondary dominants, or we can use a 2-5-1, right, as a passing chord to take us to the C minor, okay? So let's use a 2-5-1. He saw the best in me when everyone else around could only see the worst in me. All right, so that was, so that's a 2, That's if so. My target tone is C minor, right? So the 2 of C is D. The 5 of C is G, and that takes me to C minor, my target chord. Okay, so you can use the 2-5, and we discussed this earlier, yes. But what I want to kind of expand on is the fact that you can go more in depth, right? So the 2-5-1 in this context, like I said, I'm using is a minor 7 flat 5 to a G7, a dominant chord, to a C minor. Now, if you're a beginner, you might play that as "He's all the best to me, with everyone else around," something like that, right? But the more chords you get under your belt, the more understanding you get of theory, then you can start building upon that concept, right? So a simple 2-5-1 can turn into a rootless 2-5-1, right? So that could be something like, "He saw the best in me." So that simple concept that I did, which was a 2-5-1, turned into this. And so what I did there was essentially I just took the 2-5-1 progression, right? Oh, sorry. Actually, it's 2-5-1. I took that simple chord progression, and what I did now was I made it rootless. So I made it rootless, and I also changed the chord quality. So instead of playing a half diminished chord, what I'm doing is I'm playing a minor chord, a minor 11. And then I'm playing an altered chord, G7 altered, to C minor. So that's still a 2-5-1. But like I said, to build upon concepts that we have, now what I'm doing is making a rootless, playing a rootless chord. All right. So those are all rootless chords now. And so what I've done is I've just made that same chord progression sound a little bit more complex and a little bit more vague, right? And so if you don't know what a rootless chord is, rootless chord just means that I have a D minor chord, right? So all I'm doing is this D minor chord. I'm not playing the root note, the bass note, which is D. So I'm playing essentially a D minor chord, and it's understood or implied that the D is there, right? So all of those are rootless voicing. So this is a rootless voicing. This is a rootless voicing of G. And then to C minor, right? And so like I said, this is just taking a simple concept and then putting more advanced techniques, combining them together to give me a more advanced sound, right? And this can be applied to any of the techniques that we've used. So that's just one thing that you can do there, right? And then some other ways that you can make advanced gospel passing chords, you can play advanced gospel passing chords, is, like I said, combining these techniques, and you can change the chord quality of a passing chord, right? So let's say, let's say I'm going from the 3 to the 2. All right, and I'm going to use a 2-5-1 again. So a 2-5-1 of F minor 7 would be G minor to to C7. So this would be the 5. Send me to my F. Okay, so that's a 2-5-2 F. Minor, dominant, minor, okay? So instead of playing that, what I can do is change the chord quality. That's another way you can take these concepts and kind of build on them and make them your own. So instead of playing minor, then maybe I'll make this a half diminished, because this gives me a little bit more tension. Gives me a little bit more tension when I'm going through the progression, right? So my 2 chord, instead of being minor, is now half diminished. My 5 chord is altered. And like we said before, you can make it rootless, meaning that the C is implied. Then you can make your target chord rootless as well. And like these are all ways that you're going to just build and build upon your passing chords, okay? Using all of these concepts and combining them together, okay? And so another way that you can do that by combining or building off of the concept is maybe instead of changing the chord quality, instead of making it flat, minor 7, flat 5, instead of making it half diminished, what I can do as well is I can put it as a drop 2 voicing. So I'm going to still use this G minor 7 to the C7 to the F, right? So that's my chord progression. So what I'm going to do is, nope, that was wrong. Okay, so all that was like a drop 2 voicing of the 2-5. Okay, and that's another way you can build upon that concept. So I know that my 2-5 progression is G minor to C7, some type of C dominant chord, whatever you want to make it, the F minor, right? So what I'm doing is playing this chord. Now this chord is a G minor 7 chord, but I'm playing it in drop 2 voicing, meaning that the second note from the top, which is not F, but D, I take the second note from the top and I put it in my left hand and take it out of my right, okay? So this is a G minor 7 chord. It may not look like one, but it's a G minor 7 chord, okay? It's just in drop 2 voicing. I took the D from the second note from the top of my right hand, put it in my left hand. And then this is my 5 chord. And what this is just a rootless C7. Okay? So that's another way you can take it. Another way you can build upon these concepts, right? Build upon the 2-5-1 or any of the other concepts. So that's kind of all we're running long today. So I'm going to kind of stop it here, and then we'll get into the Q&A in a few minutes, right? So I just want to give an overview of everything we've done here. So what I want you to focus on is practicing those 3 main techniques that we talked about at the beginning, which is the 2-5-1, your secondary dominant chord progressions, and just using your scale diatonically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Using the chords that are in the scale, in the key that you're playing in as passing chords, right? So focus on those 3 things, and then what you want to do after you've mastered those concepts is combine them together with other concepts, like the side slipping, like modal mixture, or just changing the chord quality, like I said, from minor to half diminished, or from a dominant to a major, whatever you want to do. You can experiment with the chord quality as well of your passing chords, and that will give you so many more options that you can take and apply to passing chords. Okay, so you have that. You can add different voicings, like rootless voicing, using rootless voicings to make it sound more complex. You can use drop 2 voicings to give you a different sound, to give you a unique sound. You can use other concepts that we didn't get to discuss today, like tritone substitutions, things like that as well. You can add into your passing chords. That all helps to give you a different sound and an advanced sound. Okay, so that is all I'm going to get to Today, yeah, Siobhan said drop twos are beautiful. They are. I absolutely love them. Right? Love the drop twos. But that's all we're gonna get to for today. So what I'm gonna do is I want to give you a couple other tips for other tips that you can use in life and to help build your passing chord repertoire. We're probably going to do another teaching on passing chords because the topic is so in depth. Here we are kind of an hour and 15 minutes in, and there's still so much more that I could talk about. But what I'm doing is I'll schedule another live training for some folks and do more videos on passing chords on the YouTube channel. But some other tips that I would give you just in general is that life and playing is your best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. So if you want to really get these passing chords in your muscle memory and in your hands, then you just need to play them over and over and over again. Like practice is going to be one of your best friends. So find a way to practice these techniques, whether it be in a song, whether it be in some type of chord progression or an exercise that you make up, but find a way to practice these things, put them together, and so practice them over and over and over again, because I didn't get all of these things immediately. These things took years and years and years to learn, to understand, and to practice so that I'm able to play them at the drop of a dime, right? And I think one way that you can practice is by not practicing too much. So say you didn't know, maybe you only knew one of the concepts that I spoke about today, right? And you want to learn all of these other concepts. Don't go trying to learn every single concept at the same time. What you need to do is take one concept at a time. So say you want to really grasp and be able to use the 2-5 progression as much as possible, right? So take that 2-5 and work solely on that. Don't work on any of the other passing chords or techniques that I gave you here today. Work solely on the 2-5 one, and you can literally work on that for 6 months. I guarantee if you work on that for 6 months, there will be so much that you've mastered at that point. And it may sound crazy to not work on any other passing chords. I'm not saying don't practice anything else. But if you're going to work on, say, passing chords and you want to improve in that specific area of your playing, work on one thing for an extended period of time. Because like I said, you can use one technique and you can go so deep with the one technique that you can practice it for years. There's still things that I'm learning in ways that I'm using these same techniques and chord progressions and chords. And I've been playing for 20 years, over 20 years now, right? So you can take one concept, and if you really spend time and hours with it, it will pay off and it will give you so much more fullness when you're playing. And when you play it will sound better. Because if you're trying to learn 10 things at once, then most likely you're not going to master any of those 10 things, right? And if you try to play it in a song, it might end up messing you up. You might end up playing something wrong and not being able to play it, right? So just take the one thing. Try to master that one concept. Learn how to play the concept in every key. Learn how to play like different iterations or different versions of a chord progression. And that will do wonders for you, okay? And then also I'd say go to like jam sessions, go to live shows or workshops. That's something I still do to this day. If you have the opportunity to get out and hear other musicians playing, other professional musicians, other musicians that are at your skill level or above your skill level, usually that tends to help push us to be better. I know when I hear somebody that's like extremely amazing, like way better than me, I hear them and I might listen to their playing and I might get some ideas from hearing them playing. Like, wow, I really like the way they voiced that specific chord. Or I play the same song that they played, but they played it much different than I did. So wow, when I get home, let me try to play it their way or take 1-2 things that they did and try to figure that out, right? And maybe it's the competitive spirit in me, but when I hear somebody, I like to practice so, I can get better as well. It pushes me and it puts kind of fire under my butt to want to get back to the piano, sit down at the keyboard and work on things that I may not be the best at. So go out, listen to live music, listen to concerts, things of that nature, and go do that. And then as well, I would say one of the other things that you can do that will be amazing for your playing is going to find a mentor and finding a coach, right? So if you can find a mentor, someone that's going to sit here and help you through the process of learning, help you through the process of growing and practicing and all those things, they can help encourage you. They can help you learn new techniques that you didn't know. And I think the best thing about having a mentor is that when you find someone that can push you in a positive direction, They will share with you the stumbling blocks that they experience, and you don't have to spend the time struggling through everything that they struggle through, right? So if someone takes 5 years to learn the passing chords I just talked about today, right? It takes them 5 years. But if you learn from them, you can learn all of their knowledge that it took them 5 years to learn in a matter of weeks, right? So you can cut down years and years and years off of your learning process by finding a mentor and having the mentor help you, or creating your own schedule that works for you, right? Because I know the struggles that it is to get better, to learn new things, to move forward in your playing, especially when you set a goal, right? A lot of us maybe want to be somewhere composing our own music, or maybe you want to lead your church's music ministry. You've always felt like, hey, I think it would be great if I could sit there and lead my choir, or lead the music team, the band at my church, and be able to teach them songs. Maybe you want to do that, right? Or maybe you want to be on tour with one of your favorite artists. You've always dreamed of being on tour with this gospel artist, or this jazz artist, or this secular artist, whatever it may be. Whatever your goal is, I know it can be hard to reach that goal, and it can be time consuming, and it can be tiring. But when you have a mentor, when you have someone that's there to help coach you, to help inspire you, to help keep you accountable so that you continue to do the things that you said you were going to do, it's life-changing, you know? And so it's for this reason that I've launched the Gifted Hands Music Academy, okay? The Gifted Hands Music Academy is an online music school, music platform, where I am able to mentor musicians who are serious about improving their playing, right? So I've created this, like I said, academy for the folks who really want to improve in a short amount of time. They want to reach their goals as soon as possible, okay? So I've created this academy, and I've made lessons, as well as other resources. We have a community here where if you join this academy, you can get direct attention, direct focus from me to help improve your playing, all right? So when you sign up for this academy, I'm gonna be your personal mentor. I wanna help you find a schedule, a practice schedule, and a routine that's gonna work for you, that's gonna help you accomplish your goals, right? I'm gonna give you personalized attention. You're gonna have direct line of communication with me. If you have any questions about trying to learn a song, about specific theory topics, about techniques, about practice routines, any question that you may have regarding life, regarding music, you have me here as your mentor to help coach you through whatever it is in your musical journey that you need help with, right? And a lot of times, I know a lot of you probably follow me on YouTube, but I don't have the time. There's so many people now that comment, that request things from me, that request lessons. I'm not able to get to them all. So I've created this academy so that for the folks that are really serious and want to pour into themselves and really want to take their playing to the next level and want to do it shorter than they ever thought possible, I've created this academy for you, right? And so like I said, I'm going to be here to coach you directly, to mentor you, and to help you learn and grow in whatever it is that you want to do, okay? And then not only that, if you sign up for this academy, we also have a community of musicians from all around the world. We have people from Africa. We have people from, like I said, Ghana, Nigeria, Hong Kong, China. We have people from the States, from Canada, all over the place that have signed up in this community. And we all have the same mindset. Everybody in the community wants to learn and grow together. So what you get with that is you get not only community, you get accountability. You get accountability for when you don't necessarily feel like practicing, when you don't necessarily feel like sitting down at a piano and working on your craft. When you have other people that are there encouraging you, pushing you to keep doing better, to keep going, keep pushing forward towards your goals. Sometimes hearing words, hearing those positive things can help give you that extra little push that you needed to get over a hump, right? And like I said, also we have exclusive lessons that you won't find on YouTube, that you won't find anywhere else. These are exclusive lessons that I cater for my students' requests. So say you need help learning scales or learning like these passing chords. If you're a part of the community, I will cater lessons directly to what you need and what you want. And then as well, with this community, I do live calls just like this that are specifically for my members. They're a little bit longer. And like I said, there's less people here. You can ask more questions. And then also, if you're a student of the community, you get to actually pick the topic that the live calls are on, right? So say you wanted live calls on how to play in all 12 keys, or you want a live call on how to get started with jazz music, or how to play neo soul chords, whatever questions, concerns, or topics you may want covered, When you join and sign up for this membership, for this community, you get all of those things, okay? And so with that, I wanted to give everyone who joined on this call a special offer. So normally to sign up for the community is $27, and you get signed up and you get access to MIDI files. We have MIDI files, we have chord charts, I have practice tracks. I'm also gonna be adding things every single week. So if you wanna learn how to play scales, if you wanna learn how to play all of the chords that I played today, all of those resources are going to be in the community and added to the community for you to get better at your craft, for you to get better at your playing, right? So I have a special deal. Normally it's $27 to sign up for the community. But today, since you all decided to join me in this live teaching, what I'm gonna do is knock $20 off of the price, and you can sign up today for only $7. That's right, $7. So what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna drop the link to where you can find more information on the Gifted Hands Music Academy. And you can also use the code if you want to. Use the code, let's see what it is. It is live20off in all caps. So live20off. If you use this code, you will get $20 off registration, and you only have to pay $7 for your first month. $7, and you get access to all of our resources, all of our live trainings, all of the lessons that we have, exclusive lessons. All of these resources are going to be yours. And as well, I think the most important thing is that me and you will have a direct line of communication. You can ask me any questions. I can help you with whatever it is that you want to achieve, whatever it is maybe that you're struggling with. I will be here for you as your personal coach in the Gifted Hands Academy to help you, like I said, to help you reach those goals. So if you're interested, please click the link that I just posted in the chat box. Click that link, use the code live20off. The code is only gonna last for the next 24 hours, okay? So it only lasts for 24 hours. If you don't use it in 24 hours, sorry, it's gonna expire. You're out of luck. But if you use it before then, you get $20 off and have access to the whole community, okay? Arlie, yes. So Arlie asked, after the first month, it will go back up to $27, but first month was only $7. Okay, and you get a 30-day money back guarantee. So let's say you sign up today and you feel like it's not a great fit for you. Elvis, okay, can't find the link. 1 second. Let me resend it. Here it is. The link is right there for you, Elvis. So if you sign up today, yeah, you'll get the you only have to pay $7 to sign up, and you have access to every single thing that's in our community. If you sign up and you don't necessarily feel like it's a great fit for you, then I do a 30-day money back guarantee. So sign up today, please, because like I said, this is the only day that you will get a chance to use this discount code. This is the only opportunity that you'll have to pay $7 to access the academy. And if you don't like it, like I said, 30 days, money back guarantee, no questions asked, okay? Like I said, I just want you all to get better. I don't want anybody to have to struggle like I did to figure out kind of your voice in music. What's the code again? The code is, let me type it for you one more time. Code is live20off. So live20, oops, 20OFF. There it is, right there. Live20off. But yeah, I don't want anybody to struggle the way I did. There was many times where I felt like quitting, the piano altogether because I was so frustrated. I came from a classical background and then switched over to gospel and jazz. And it was so confusing because I had a instructor who helped me learn classical, but coming over to gospel and jazz, I kind of learned on my own. And there's not like a resource, or there's not something that has everything all together for you to learn these genres, right? So I created this so that there's one resource everybody can turn to. If you want to learn gospel music, you just come sign up for the academy, and everything that you need to learn gospel music is going to be in the academy, right? And like I said, this is something that's going to be evergreen. It's growing every single week. Every month, I release new videos and new resources into the academy to help you all on your process, okay? So does anybody else have any questions for today? No problem, Elvis. Thank you for coming out and participating with me today. Does anybody else have any questions about anything I went over today? Any questions? Need any clarification, anything like that? Let me know now. This will probably be the last live call we do for the month of October. I don't know when the next one is coming up. I do have a live call next week for my community members, but if you're not signed up for the community, you won't get the live call. And like I said, I don't know when the next free live call is going to be. So any questions, anybody at all? Let me know now. Nathaniel, can I also use drop 3 or 4 during any of the voicings? What do you mean by drop 3? Like drop the third note from the top? I just kind of need some clarification. What do you mean by drop 3? Nathaniel. Yeah, okay. So yeah, there are drop 2s. Let me go back to the keyboard here. So you have drop 2s, right? So if I'm playing C major, this is C major 7, and this is drop 2, right? I took that G, the second note from the top. I took the G and I put it in my left hand. So that would be drop 2. I guess technically you could do like a drop 3. I've never heard it called that before. But if you wanted to take that third note, which would be the E, you could do that too. Yeah, you can use it any way that you want to. There would be no drop 4 technically, because if I drop the 4, that's just a C, and I'm already putting the C on the bass. But you could use the top note if you wanted to. That's an inversion. You can use the second note, or you can use that third note as well as a drop voicing. Yeah, most definitely. I never actually thought about it like that, but you can definitely use those as well, Nathaniel. Does that answer your question? Very good question. Very, very good question. I might have to actually go and practice that now. You gave me a good idea for today. Does anybody else have any questions? Any other questions from anybody? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. All right. So if that's all the questions for today, I'm going to end it right here. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming out and experiencing the live training with me. I want to thank you all for participating, for being such an amazing audience. Like I said, just follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. It's Gifted Hands Music. You can follow us on Instagram as well at giftedhands_music. And then you can also go to our website, www.thegiftedhandsmusic, www.thegiftedhandsmusic. And you can find more information about Gifted Hands, about all the services we offer, about all of the products we offer. You can learn more about the Gifted Hands Academy as well if you want more information on that. On our website and the link that I posted in the chat box, okay? So just stay tuned, y'all. I have videos still coming out every single week on our YouTube channel. So just stay in contact, stay practicing, keep growing, keep getting better at your craft. I hope this helped you with that. And I'll see you all very, very soon. All right, have a great day. And thank you, Nathaniel. I see you comment.